So this is now the beginning of the various case studies that we have all here prepared. And we are starting from a case study from Malawi, where we are going to hear from Oris Malijani, who is a Principal Heritage Program Manager in the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Wildlife. And Oris is based in Malawi, but has been trained internationally. His work is specializing in the development of strategic management planning frameworks for heritage sites, conservation management of sites, and also research and capacity building in heritage. He has worked actually with both governmental and intergovernmental organizations, but also with non-governmental organizations. That's actually quite relevant here, including private firms or civil society organizations for the promotion, planning and development of African heritage. So he has a PhD from the University of Cottbus and an MA from RMA in heritage management. Oris.
So this is Oris Malijani again. Working with the Department of Museums and Monuments, implementing a number of conservation and management programs, especially working with the local communities, involving the local communities. So meanwhile, we are implementing a project titled the Fort Mangosho Preservation Project with a number of stakeholders. So this project basically, we are empowering the local communities by building some socio-economic resilience measures for the local communities and through public works programs, whereby the local communities are able to do some conservation work and some site presentation works through, like, for example, stabilization of the fort itself and the clearing of the mountain routes. So out of it, the local communities are being paid some stipends so that they need to use part of the money to use part of the money to carry out to implement a number of activities. So this project is really, really important for Malawi, as it is building some local capacities through tour guiding. We are also building local capacities by involving the local communities themselves to manage the fort at a local level. So it is indeed a safe, sustainable project. And as Malawi, we are really, really, really proud with our partners, our stakeholders who are being actively involved in the implementation of this project. So this project, we are using the heritage itself as a tool to create job opportunities and to empower the local communities. So far, out of this project, we have mobilized around 300 households around the 40 into a progressive movement or association of 15 village savings and loans associations. These are like village banks for economic empowerment of the local communities. The local communities themselves have also maintain the mountain route. It's a mountain route of about 7 kilometers. So the local communities, especially the youth and women, that have been involved in the maintenance of this mountain route. So far, about 15 vibrant village savings loans and savings associations have been created to be used as a vehicle to empower the local communities. So this project is actually giving some financial benefits to the youth and the women itself. So far, 60 women from these associations are working on the mountain, and they are being paid like they are getting a daily stipend of about 10 euro. And each participant is so far that have accumulated they're getting about 200 euros for the work which they are doing for the fort. And over 300 households have also benefited from tree planting through public work programs. So they're also being paid when they're planting the trees. And these groups, associations, are so far, like now, they're in the 10th, it's a 10th month of a 12-month cycle. So they've got a total share value of around 14,000 euros. So they are really getting some benefit out of preserving and maintaining this heritage. In terms of job creation, a majority of the youth, the women, they've also been they've been able to get some jobs through this public work program. So the project is really important, especially the way it is contributing to the economic measures, some socio-economic resilience to the local communities. As I've already said, so far 300 households that have been mentored in ecotourism ventures. They've been mentored in warrior dances and other economic activities. Around 10,000 trees has been planted along the fort, so that the project is also helping to conserve the environment through the reforestation programs. So these are reforestation programs. They are part of the public works, whereby the women and the youth they are getting paid out of implementing these public works programs. And about 50 out of school youth, rural farmers, and forest guards, patrolmen around the fort have been trained into local tour guides, so they're also benefiting economically through some ecotourism ventures which happens at the fort itself. We have also a project of beekeeping. We are raising bees, so we have a beekeeping club. So about 70 beehives have been raised, and the people around the fort itself are able to generate some income through the sale of honey itself. So this project is really important as a part of building some socio-economic resilience to local communities as one way of empowering the communities through heritage resources. Thank you so much.
This was very helpful, and obviously this is a great example of how heritage can actually function as an opportunity for upskilling, but also for creating an opportunity for employment for both young and older. And we will probably see other examples that some of you might have. Next in line for the case studies is Habtamu Gizawu Tola, who is working for the Wako Gutu Foundation in Oromia. We have a good case study here of peace building and conflict prevention through heritage. Habtamu has got a background in agriculture and then project management, but has actually been working for the last few years with heritage and peace building. So without further ado, let's go to Habtamu's presentation.
Progress. Hello everyone, this is Habtamu. I'm from Ethiopia. In this presentation, I'm going to share with you the experience of our project on conflict prevention and peace building through heritage. The project targets 3 regions in Ethiopia, namely Afar, Oromia, and Somali. The communities in these regions are pastoral and agro-pastoral. They share socio-cultural and social cohesions. But due to scarcity of natural resource and political instability in the area, the interboundary conflict or inter-ethnic conflict is a common phenomenon that resulted in lack of peace and stability in the area. The consequence of this conflict has created internal displacement of more than 1 million people and disrupted the social cohesion and the social relationship of the community. But the good thing is that these communities have the golden opportunity on their hands to resolve their disputes and manage conflicts. This is called the indigenous institution. Indigenous institution plays a significant role and there are effective ways for handling of conflicts in general in Africa and particularly in Ethiopia, and they still functional. So the most common traditional institution in our operational areas are the Guma system, Sinkes institution in Jarsuma from Oromia, Ugas and the Gurti from Somali, Madda and the Mablo from Afar. So as compared to the formal justice system, the traditional institutions they are mostly advantageous and benefited for the local community because they are highly accepted and respected by the community. They are deeply rooted in the culture of the society, so that it's easily accessible for the community. They ensure the real social reconciliation and justice for the conflicting parties. So for this presentation, I would like to share with you the experience of Guma from the Oromia region. Guma is a traditional system used for conflict resolution and reconciliation. It's a part of traditional laws of the Oromo people under the Gada system. It has its own structure and also procedures during the reconciliation process. So there are also the cases that can be seen under the Guma system, like killing of person, damage of personal properties and resources, killing of indigenous wildlife, and the cutting of indigenous trees are the most common one. So for conducting the reconciliation through the Guma system, the Guma leaders follows three different phases. The first phase is conflict escalation phase. Conflict escalation phase, in this case, the Guma leaders plays a significant role by controlling the expansion of this conflict from individual levels to the clan level, and they stabilize the situation of conflicts. So, and also they convince both parties to come into negotiation and through the Guma system. So this can be confirmed by the Guma leaders by taking and giving one awalcha. One awalcha means like funeral service costs. So both parties, if both parties refuse not to take to do this one, this indicates that both parties are ready for revenge. So the Guma leaders ensures first this in this step they ensures the willingness of both parties. And the second phase is resolution phase. In this phase, the Guma leaders organize the first meeting with leaders of the clans, representatives, and they investigate the case, what is the cause and the effect of that conflict, and also they make negotiations in between the clans leaders or clan representatives. And then they after they identify the issues, they deliver the decision or the punishment on the offender family. So this can be done by slaughtering the presented ox and a cow together. And then this phase is mainly focused on the reintegration of the socio-psychological effects. The last phase is reconciliation phase. It is last appointment for making reconciliation between the at family level. So in this phase, the offender appears for the first time, and both families see each other for the first time. And then on this ceremony, the offender family presents honey and the milk, and then the Sinke or the Sinke leader, she feeds both the offender and the victim's family, and again the offender feeds the victim's family. So this process is feeding process called Fichata. Finally, they hand over the decided number of cattle or as a compensation. And finally, the Guma leaders announce the final social reconciliation by saying that starting from today, the offender has a right to participate in any social and cultural events, and all parties have the right to sell and buy their products in the market, and to send their children in the school. So the Guma system plays a significant role in reintegrating the social relationship with the conflicting parties by ensuring justice and creating mutual trusts, and also by rehabilitating the psychological traumas of the conflicting parties. It plays also in preventing and stabilizing the political violence by making reconciliation between the government and the protesters. Thank you for your attention. Heritage for Peace.
Thank you very much, Habtamu. This was a great example of how traditional mediation tools are actually being used for conflict prevention and peace building. And now we move to a country nearby, but a very different example of how heritage contributes to development with Harriet Chebet Ng'ok, who is a local Kipsigi from Kenya and founder of Harriet's Botanicals, a heritage-based business retailing traditional medicine from the Southern Rift Valley in Kenya, working with Kipsigis, Maasai, and Ogiek communities. And of course, Harriet comes from a finance background as a finance consultant, an investment banker in London, and more recently with a focus on climate finance and renewable energy projects. She's also worked for JP Morgan, Chase, Goldman Sachs, and the FSA in London. Harriet comes from an economics degree, but also an LLM and LLB laws. So Harriet, you take it from there.
Hi, my name is Harriet Ng'ok. I am a 47-year-old woman from Kenya, based in Nairobi, but from the Southern Rift Valley, and I'd like to speak about my project or my business, Harriet's Botanicals. So this is a heritage-based business in the sense that we retail traditional medicine that is sourced from the Southern Rift Valley, from the community of the Kipsigis and sometimes the Maasai, because there's a correlation and a parallel between these two communities. I myself am Kipsigis, and I come from those parts. Actually, my mom is from one part, my dad is from another part, where we source these products. And this knowledge was passed on to me by an auntie who received it from an uncle, her own uncle, who would be actually my grandfather's brother. So the Kipsigis, the element of heritage in this business is that the Kipsigis are known for giving birth. Sigis means to give birth. And they are now the holder of like thousands and thousands and thousands of years of knowledge of the trees that actually impact fertility. So the idea is that we have fertility products for both men and women, and this is what the Kipsigis are known for. Similarly, we have products that treat the men, we have products that treat the women, and a range of other traditional remedies that we haven't developed, even though we've developed a third one. Now, this knowledge is the preserve of the older people above 70, typically women, the people who go into the forest and forage and get the herbs, especially the roots. The people who can identify the trees and the berries or the leaves are actually people over a certain age, typically undereducated, living in the village, right? We have 3 products, and I'm just going to outline them for you. This is Arrowroot, our flagship product, and it's doing extremely well. And this treats infertility in women, primary and secondary. It treats hormonal imbalance, which leads to things like adenomyosis, endometriosis, PCOS, fibroids, blocked tubes. It also has an element of treating infections in both the reproductive and digestive tract. The idea is that digestion and reproduction are related. We have our men's product, which is Tenduit, Prunus africana, which is used to clean the prostate, issues to do with urinary tract infection, low libido, and poor sperm count. So it's also a fertility treatment for men, by and large. I developed this last product during COVID because at that time everybody was looking for anything that could treat a fever or a cold. And this is an ancient remedy that is used to treat pneumonia of the lungs. What they used to call pneumonia of the lungs, it uses sagawaita, So this is something I developed just for the time and to help, when the kids were going back to school so that the parents can have something to give to them, right? Now, this was all developed in collaboration with the University of Nairobi Pharmacology and Pharmacognosy Department. So we went the full mile, the full hog, and took our products there to be tested. And then we got a report. We took it to Ministry of Culture, which governs traditional medicine. And we are now certified herbal practitioners. Our principles are based on affordability, accessibility. These two are very important because we are speaking to an urban population that now lives in town and doesn't have access to their grandmothers. So back in the day, our parents, for instance, grew up in the village, and maybe we used to go to the village every holiday, and grandma would prepare a concoction for all of us, for our tummy, for our respiratory system, and for girls and boys over a certain age that also be given this fertility treatment. So our idea is to bring it to town, make it affordable, just $15 in this market, for instance, and make sure that it's in places that, like typically you don't have to go to Kipsigis land to get it. You can get it in Garissa or Nairobi or Kigali or London or Berlin. That is, our whole idea is to broaden it and to globalize it and mainstream it into the market. Now, we have achieved a lot of things in the 4+ years that we have been around. Number one, We have grown the market, raising the profile for traditional medicine in Kenya. We now serve a loyal and growing client base of more than 500,000. We have grown annual sales from $2,500 in 2017 to $360,000 in 2021. We employ more than 20 people, and we collaborate with tens of stakeholders. Giving back to communities and their heritage is part of the linchpin of our business. This is the reason that we kept the names. We made sure that, for posterity, children will pick up, we'll hear about arrowroot, and everybody will know arrowroot is a tree that forms a fertility concoction that comes from the Kalenjin or the Kipsigis community. We kept the names, we use it in branding, we have videos of practitioners, we speak with practitioners all the time, we have community engagement programs where we go and do sustainable harvesting and we teach. We've decided to take on board more products to start researching all the trees, keep the names, and even brought into other communities. So we do this for the Kalenjins and the Kipsigis, but we also do it for the Maasai, right? This is our partner community that we're keeping the names of the same trees, but keeping their names in Maasai and documenting and archiving how they are used. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Harriet. This is a great example on how heritage can be particularly useful for business and can not only brand business, as you would have in the food and drink sector, for example, but can also inspire business and be at the core of business, as in Harriet's case. The next case study is not going very far, not only geographically, but also thematically. But here we're going to be looking at the Ngorongoro National Conservation Authority and how heritage in the Ngorongoro is stimulating tourism that ends up ensuring the good livelihood and the support services of tens of thousands of locals in the local communities. Joshua Mwankunda is presenting this case study. Joshua is responsible for heritage in the Gorongoro National Park and the number 2 in the whole park. He has more than 20 years of management experience and overseas assignments. He has a rich professional experience in heritage conservation and development, but also in tourism, as well as in project management, procurement, and engineering. Joshua has started as an engineer, his studies, and has continued with an MA in heritage management with us. And he is now, he has actually overseen the whole development of the Ngorongoro as the first geopark in sub-Saharan Africa, but has also fundraised, coached, stimulated creativity to multitudes of employees and partners of the NCA. So without any further introduction, let's go to Joshua and that case study.
My name is Joshua Mwankunda. I am the manager for the Cultural Heritage Department at the Ngorongoro Conservation Area Authority. Ngorongoro Conservation Area is situated on the northern part of Tanzania, and it's actually a place with diverse of heritage. We have natural heritage, that's wildlife, meaning we have safaris and wildlife tourism. We also do have cultural heritage, archaeological site, and community experience in the region. We do have several important and famous sites like the Laitoli hominid footprints with 3.6 million years ago evidence of bipedalism when humans started walking upright. We do have the Old Vai Gorge, of course, and the museum telling us the story of cradle of humankind. Quite important because it has an unbroken sequence of all the evolution stages, both biological and cultural. We have the famous crater, the caldera, with more than 25,000 species of wildlife with it. Quite a good heritage that attracts a good number of tourists. We have approximately 700,000 visitors annually in good times, which contribute to the income of close to 60 million USD. A good part of this amount of money goes to the communities here, as we have about 93,000 population of 3 ethnic community groups, Datoga, Maasai, and Hadzabe. The Maasai form the majority of this number, about 95%. We do support out of this money, the 10% of this money, direct tourist income, to support communities projects in education, in health, livestock keeping. You will remember, or you will recall, that communities here depend entirely on livestock keeping. They're not allowed to do any cultivation or any other activities for their livelihood. So we do support also food supplements out of this. You can see here how much heritage is important to the livelihood and living of these communities in our area. Having gone through difficult moments like the pandemic, we had no money to support the communities. And you know, the communities are also employed to tourist economic activities, employment. So they also have indirect income coming out of heritage activities in the form of tourism, close to 0.5 to 1% of this total income. So all of this was lost. It was a catastrophe. So the community livelihood went down, no living, no development activities, no nothing. So you can imagine, if we move on with this situation for the next 2 to 3 years, how bad the situation will be. The community here depends entirely on the heritage as a source of employment and income and support to economic and social activities. So this is the story at the Ngorongoro Conservation Area past these 2 to 3 years. Thank you so much for listening to me.
Thank you very much, Joshua. This is the positive example, of course, is very useful. It's very important we measure, what is the contribution of heritage to tourism or to business, etc. But also the negative example is also very useful to highlight the role of heritage in the economic development of communities. As we have seen now, thanks to COVID, that the tourism activity has halted or severely reduced. And we will hear later on from Dagnachew as well, from Ethiopia. Another example, and seeing the impact of COVID on tourism. That negative example is actually very important for understanding better the impact of heritage to the economic development of communities. So the next case study is a slightly different one. Ndapewashali Dahafa Shipala, on behalf of the Museums Association of Namibia, will be presenting the case study of Heritage Week in Namibia as a unique tool for social cohesion and the celebration of social diversity in the country. Ndapewashali comes from with an undergraduate in finance management, but has also had a variety of experience in the finance sector. But then now currently is working with heritage and culture, and is currently studying towards a master's in arts history, a Master of Arts in History at the University of Namibia. She is a talented designer, writer, and community activist, and currently she's the operations manager at the Museums Association of Namibia. So, Ndapewashali.
Hello, my name is Ndapoyoshali Ndahafashipala. I work for the Museums Association of Namibia, which is an umbrella body for Namibian museums. We are also, however, a part of the Namibian Heritage Week team. The Namibian Heritage Week team is a collection of heritage institutions, culture institutions, and arts institutions that come together and plan activities for the week, which is held in the third week of September every year. However, the stats that you'll be seeing today are based on only the last 3 years where we actually started recording or became more vigilant with recording statistics. So the Namibian Heritage Week continues to grow as more institutions and more individuals take part and join the Heritage Week team. The week itself started off as International Museum Day, which is usually celebrated in May, but has moved to September as it became in Namibian Heritage Week. So the week itself is an opportunity for Namibians to learn, number one, more about their own culture and celebrate their own cultural heritage, but also to learn more about other people's cultural heritage and other communities and groups and cultures. In a country like Namibia, which is so diverse, it is so important for us to know and understand each other a little bit more. So the week is actually used as a way for Namibians to come together and nation build. In fact, we focus a lot on celebrating our differences and understanding our differences so that we can see and build the unity in diversity. The Heritage Week team strongly encourage schools and actually reach out to schools to take part in the activities, because the young children in both high school and primary school have the reach that sometimes us adults do not. They go home, they learn about each other's cultures, they interact with each other more, they go home, they teach their parents and families and friends, and they teach each other, and everybody learns from one another. So usually Namibia has 14 regions, and usually we have a really good participation rate across the regions, ranging from about 8 to 14 regions. And activities run in both institutions. So we usually have formal activities that are funded by grants provided by the Museums Association of Namibia, but also some activities that are self-funded by private institutions or private individuals. Activities range from cultural performances to learning, to discounts for and open days for museums and hotels, etc. It's limitless. However, what we do at MAN is we provide grants for specific activities that focus a lot on the sharing of knowledge, especially of intangible cultural heritage. Because of COVID-19, we actually had to relook at how we do Heritage Week and how we have Heritage Week. We used to focus a lot on having big numbers of people in places, which of course COVID said no to. However, what we realized is we actually got to reach a greater part of the population by ensuring that our activities are rather small, or the events are pre-recorded and then are shared on online platforms, radio, and TV. After realizing how these new COVID-19 stipulations have allowed us to actually reach a wider audience in 2020, we decided to keep these stipulations on until forever. It gives us the opportunity to actually document this intangible cultural heritage. So if you'd like to learn a little bit more and understand a little bit more about Namibian Heritage Week and look at the impact made by the week and how it's grown over the years, please follow our social media pages, Namibian Heritage Week, or the Museums Association of Namibia social media pages. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ndapoyoshali. Again, this is a great example of how social development can actually come through heritage. And Namibia has been working on this for many years now. And it has been great to hear something about that fantastic case study. The next presentation comes from Mohamed Alhassane from Agadez in Niger, who is an archaeologist by training, studied in Niger, in Paris, and abroad. And he took part in several excavations in and out of Niger. Now he has created an organization, Imane Atarikh, that has been funded generously by our partners ALIF. And the aim of the project is, of course, of Imane Atarikh, is to safeguard heritage. But Mohamed here is going to be telling us a little bit about the social impact of that work, the job creation, the upskilling of that work that has come about thanks to the conservation efforts in Agadez. So, Mohamed.
So my name is Mohamed Alhassane, and is a manager project in Agadez, old city. So the story starts when I was child. I see my city is very changed. In the past, Agadez is a carrefour. Was a place where many tourists come here. And when I was child, my friend and my family shows a house, historical house in the city of Agadez, and the remains of archaeological from Sahara and from around of Agadez. But during for a few years, there is many factor impact the society in Agadez. For example, there have been rebellions, there have been climate change. So everything economic people have impacted. So people choose to go around, to go to Libya or Algeria to find a job, and then to substantially has family, save her family. So we did some conversation with traditional guys how to rehabilitate or rehabilitation of house, conservation, how to do this. So the work is together with local communities. We want to stabilize the population, the young people who want to go to another country to look at jobs. So this opportunity will create a project to save the heritage of Agadez, the door of the Sahara. It is means it's a great majestic mosque in Agadez, who is people come here 10,000, 20 houses of Agadez. We make masons, traditional methods. We use the traditional methods because we see the traditional methods is very important to save this heritage. We cannot use a new technology. We cannot use a new materials for build the house. So we have a knowledge. We combine the people who have a traditional knowledge and the young people. We create sociability. We create exchange knowledge. We change knowledge between 2 generations or 3 generations. So that's very important. So the young people get a job, for example. People get a job. Some young people have a new to pay her studies after the work. For example, in the weekend, we can stabilize. So we see there is a transformation in the city. People have spoken about that. People said the house is important. Her heritage is a symbolic of peace, is symbolic of development of Agadez. People have definitely accorded of that. So we see a different view of changing of heritage, climate change. Before, the Agadez is a desertic area, but now sometimes there is a lot stronger raining, for example. So he damaged heritage. So people, there is a very the conflict around in Niger, in Agadez, for example, Libya around. So the Agadez all cities established of a stability of safe, because people know the story about Agadez. So the young people now, he learn technique of traditional tech. He can do that of another houses. We create a job, we create a knowledge, and then we have a specific organization, Association Imane Atarikh, who is a leader of and helped by ALIF organization to create or to help some houses. there is a lot houses. Of course, we can do that. Everything symbolic houses with historical. And then the young people take data. For example, information from an old person. We take it and then we save this data information for make exhibition or learning knowledge from all the society. So this project, of course, have an impact. We see that we don't have finished not now, but we see the impact of economical. The young people change her system. We buy the how do we say the books, the ship. Sometimes people, the grandmother buys the book, and then we make a trade or commerce, that's historical. We found with this project, we found the historical system around in Agadez between a population, between foreign guys at a house. So yeah, we see the difference between time and then people who is combined in this project. So there is many guys, young people coming for working, around 120 give us a small job. Without this project, there is no, we cannot give, we are not available to give work with these younger people. And of course, we want to go to another country for immigration of what else. But we have a fix it with this. Without heritage, we don't have a peace in Agadez. We don't have a flourishing economic in Agadez, of course. Yeah.
Thank you, Mohamed. This, like the Malawi example, is a great example of how heritage preservation can create jobs, but actually jobs can create income and a virtuous flow in the economy that will actually continue helping heritage. So very often we think heritage is a receiving end of investment for preservation or other activities, but actually heritage is a giving tool for development. And of course, we forget that very often. And there's a good reason why we forget it, because we very often ask the professionals, do not communicate that impact. We do not measure even sometimes that impact for society. So the next example is a very powerful one, where heritage has actually been used for social reconciliation in Rwanda after the genocide. David Nkusi is going to present that case study. David works for the Academy of the Ministry of Culture in Rwanda. He has an MA in Heritage Management, and his work actually revolves around identifying, carrying out research on heritage sites, and proposing efficient and appropriate conservation management plans. David has supervised multiple heritage sites management, but as well as, but has also worked on the legal side of the preparation of multinational organizations, regional multinational organizations, for the protection and promotion of heritage. So, David, let's have your case study.
Greetings from Rwanda. I'm David Nkusi, working from Rwanda Cultural Heritage Academy under the Ministry of Youth and Culture. This short presentation I'm going to go through is about the genocide history, and in this particular case, the genocide against Tutsi in 1994 and the social reconciliation process in building sustainable peace and development in Rwanda. Now, what has the government done or put in place to see or to make this social cohesion and become a reality in the country? One, we've got programs of preservation of this difficult heritage through our museums. When we talk about the campaign against genocide museum, that is basically a platform to educate the young generation, the young and the future generation about the difficult heritage or the bad history, the tragic event that was in the country. It's something that many people come to learn from and be to proclaim the never again philosophy in the country and beyond. Secondly, we have the using social shared heritage mechanisms to ensure stability through revisiting the traditional institutions that were used back then in the country to solve today's problems, especially after the tragic event of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi. We have several initiatives like Abunzi or the community mediators and the Umuganda, the community work. We have also Mwiherero, that's the community dialogue, and so many other initiatives that have come up to see that Rwanda has stable peace and development. Yes, we have also, actually these are the homegrown solutions that in particular, for this particular case, we have got a museum, particularly that exhibit or preserve these traditional institutions so that the future generations can also find something to learn from. So that's the process the country has gone through. And of course, living in Rwanda after 1994 meant to live with the consequences of genocide. So preserving such kind of difficult heritage is something that is very impactful to our local communities and the general public at large. And many people, as you see the statistics, many people come to visit these museums so that they can learn more and also find way out on how to reconcile and live in peace together as one country. There is also the Umunyarwanda project or program that is basically all about shared identity as one nation and one people. To end this heritage is for us all, and it matters in everyday aspect of our lives, something that we shouldn't take for granted. And I end by a quote from His Excellency. He says, "Our country faced unimaginable atrocities, and it will only be healed by extraordinary efforts. And with this, we will really place heritage at the center of this development and sustainable peace we have achieved as a country." Thank you.
Thank you, David, for this very strong message. As we saw, Rwanda, like in Habtamu's case study, has used traditional means of conflict prevention and reconciliation, but has also started to manage the heritage of the genocide in the campaign museum, but is also using the common heritage shared by Rwandans in order to create social cohesion and reconciliation. So I think this is a very powerful case study. Thank you, David. The next case study comes from Ethiopia. Dagnachew Getnet is presenting it. Dagnachew is an economist from the Addis Ababa University, who also has an MSc in mathematics and a second BA in economics, and then yet another degree in mathematics. So he has oscillated between mathematics and economics, and so for approximately 10 years he has also taught in agricultural education colleges as a mathematics instructor, head registrar, etc. But recently, and after a lectureship in mathematics, he has been working in the last 10 years in the Ministry of Culture and Tourism as a statistics senior expert and director for natural resources, senior researcher for project preparation, monitoring and evaluating, senior expert for the development directorate, and then a director for that directorate. Dagnachew is going to give us a good picture of how heritage tourism is impacting the overall economy of Ethiopia. So, Dagnachew.
Hi, my name is Dagnachew from Ethiopia, Ministry of Culture and Tourism previously. I'm a research director. My presentation is on socio-economic development contribution of heritage on socio-economic development. As the title indicates, there are two parts which are social and economic aspect. But in this case, we will focus on only the economic aspect of the heritage contribution. And here, as you see from the slide, the data which is taken from my ministry, it shows most of the tourists comes in January and December, which shows that this time there are cultural heritage events or rituals, and this indicates almost all the tourists come to visit these heritage sites, and this also an indication for the economic contribution for cultural heritage is very important for Ethiopians. Here, these tourists have their own expenditures, and these expenditures are for revenue for the country. Here, as you see in the chart, these receipts are or revenues are higher in the stable condition, but in the case of the conditions which are unstable, it's declined. And this heritage is very important when there is a stable condition. The same is true here in job in millions. That means this is the social aspect of especially the unemployment rate. Here, as you see, in 2010, there is 1.8 million jobs using this tourism contribution, whereas in 2019, it increased up to 27 million. But as you see, because of the coronavirus and the war which is happened in Ethiopia in 2020, and after that, it is declined into 1 million. Currently, it is below that because of the instability. In addition to that, when you see the contribution of the GDP, here, as World Tourism Travel says, there is 10% GDP contribution for the economy. But when you come to 2020, it's very much declined to 3% because there is a case that is coronavirus case and the war case. And here, when there is an unstable condition, this heritage is very damaged at the same time because of where the economic contribution is decreased. At the same time, the unemployment persons destroy those heritages at the same time also. And it is correlated that when there is a shortage of income, they destroy heritage at the same time also. And these heritages are different from the other resources, renewable resources. For example, mine, there is a means of conflict, but this heritage site has no conflict reason. Only there is a means of interaction is increasing as a social aspect, and because of that, this is important. When it comes to specifically these examples with Lalibela and Gondar, here, as you see, this is the chart shows that the domestics and the international tourists revenue. Here, the smallest one is the domestics one, and the graph, which is the increased one, is the total. Here, the international tourists is increasing because of that. The dollar exchange rate is increasing. That's why but otherwise, the number of tourists are the domestic ones are more greater than that of the international tourists. Here, the same is true Gondar, but as you see here in 2021, there is also a nil. It shows a nil because of the war and this coronavirus. Here in Gondar and Lalibela, the impact of corona is that much because in the other areas or the out of the countryside, or that means the regions that much have no impact on the coronavirus. Impact is less. Because of that, the homegrown economy currently, economy of Ethiopia, focuses on tourism, and currently tourism launched as a minister by itself, and at the same time, one of the sectors which are the economic sector is tourism, because previously it was a service sector. Now currently, because of this contribution, it becomes an economic sector, and for the next 10 years plan, our government plans to increase the heritage tourism contribution to GDP by 10%, and to increase the jobs. As you see, previously it was 2.7, the maximum one. Now we have planned to 3.7 million jobs in the tourism sector, and at the same time to bring 7.2 million tourists, because the government focus on this to cultural heritage site development and the others. Thank you very much for your listening.
Dagnachew, thank you very much. This did not only highlight the importance of heritage for tourist income in Ethiopia, it also showed us how that tourist income is a particularly great force for stability and for no conflict, as all parties involved are losing the tourist income, which is significant because of conflict when there is some. And we have actually seen that not only with conflict, but with Corona as well in many places. Here in Ethiopia, but also in Tanzania. And so I think actually this is another great aspect of the economic development through heritage, that because it is based on tourism partly, it is also a factor for stability and an incentive for peace and calm. So the next case study comes from Uganda, and Simon Musasizi is going to present some of the work done by the Cross-Cultural Foundation of Uganda that has partnered with multiple institutions inside and out of the country. For example, the British Council has been supportive of this organization. Simon's case study is basically going to showcase the ways in which heritage can actually be used to deal with the impact of climate change in that part of Uganda. And we We will see now from Simon's case study how that works. Simon.
Hello everyone, my name is Simon Musasizi. I work with the Cross-Culture Foundation of Uganda as the Heritage Trust Programs Manager. My work entails helping the organization to establish a national trust for Uganda that will be in charge of safeguarding our heritage. So I'll go into our work. So we are doing work in the Rwenzori Mountains, which is located in Western Uganda. It is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, which is known for having snow on the equator. However, with the warming, global warming, the snows are reducing, the glaciers are melting. Climate change is also resulting in changes in zones, shifting species, changes in rainfall patterns, and an increase in flood instances. Research already carried out indicates that the alpine glaciers have reduced from 7.5 square kilometers in 1906 to less than 1 square kilometers in 2003. The receding snows, according to Uganda Wildlife Authority, which is the government body that manages national parks, has resulted in the creation of over 20 lakes on the mountains. These lakes supply and sustain several rivers that are running downstream. In recent years, this has led to disastrous flooding, which has not only affected the surrounding communities, but the country at large. The rivers now come down with huge boulders, and recently almost cleared an entire town called Kilembe town. It destroyed schools, swept away homes, farms, bridges, and hydropower dams. As Cross-Culture Foundation of Uganda, we are using traditional knowledge to adapt to the effects of climate change. Working with local communities, we have together identified trees that are important to them with a lot of traditional knowledge to them. Among them is the bamboo trees. The communities are planting them downstream because at the moment the bamboos are actually left in the high altitudes, which is also an indicator of climate change. We are also encouraging sustainable agriculture through agroforestry. Here the communities are encouraged to mix crops with medicinal plants and fruit trees. As a way of ground cover restoration, stabilize the soils. This is what the traditional knowledge says. Medicinal plants are not just resilient, but also provide medicine to the people. Similarly, the fruit trees such as mangoes are not only resilient, but also ensure that there is no food scarcity. There are also many taboos such as respecting of forests, rivers and riverbanks as dwelling places of spirits. A lot of these taboos have practical ways of maintaining and managing water resources. Communities have continued with these practices as part of their social, but also traditional solutions to managing natural resources. For example, they perform rituals for cleansing the ridges and water bodies as an important element practically, but also the social and psychological way of managing change. Climate change has enormous psychological effects on people. If a community goes under depression, they need stability in their lives. And that stability is their spirit. So the ritual is good for raising awareness about the effects of climate change and the need to respect our environment. We are also piloting natural flood management methods with some sections of the river using traditional knowledge. So this project is an illustration of how traditional knowledge has been useful to holistically adapt to climate change. Managing water resources, food scarcity, management of river banks, managing of social effects of climate change. Without this heritage, we would not be able to do any of that work.
Thank you, Simon. It's great to see this case study, as Heritage has been instrumental in providing the knowledge on how to manage water resources, how to protect livelihoods, but also how to deal with the psychological effects of climate change that, like any crisis, creates. And so this is a very important case study, and thank you, Simon, for highlighting this. And I think the Ugandan example can actually be an inspiration for other similar examples elsewhere. The next and last case study comes from the Gambia, where Omar Jammeh, who is a youth activist at every level, has been serving as his region representative at the Gambia National Youth Council for many years. He's a board member and elected youth chairperson for the Central River region in his country. He's been the president, and in this capacity, he is going to be talking, the president of the Janjabure Kankurang and Cultural Association for several years, and has been awarded several awards for his work, and is going to be talking to us about the Janjambure Kankurang Festival in the east of the Gambia, and as a great tool for development, or for the development of tourism and the creation of jobs in that part of the country. So, Omar.
I am Omar Jammeh, the president, Janjambure Kankurang Festival Committee. And the Kankurang Festival is actually a legal organization that composes of different stakeholders from diverse representations. So the Kankurang Festival, the key objective is to organize annual Kankurang Festival. And the reason behind it is to preserve the masterpiece of the Kankurang and also preserve our beautiful Kankurang heritage. Janjambure as a community is known for the Kankurang heritage, is known for its unique festives around the Kankurang and other masquerades. And this started way back in 1982, where every 5 years the community will converge and have a Kankurang and circumcision festival. And until around the mid or late 90s, this tradition was kind of fading because the organizers then used to be the elderly, and they never take part because of their age and strength. And from the late 90s until, I would say, mid-2000s, there was no regular festival being held in Janjambure. In 2017, the young people came together to actually form a cultural association. And in 2018, that group were able to revive the famous and unique Janjambure Kankurang Festival in order to say the Kankurang heritage is able to flourish. And the Kankurang Festival actually make a lot of impacts. And one of the impacts it make is it actually bring a lot of community members to actually add their hands in organizing the festival, that is both in pre and post preparations. And also it brings together a lot of local entrepreneurs from diverse areas to also contribute their part in preparation of the festival and also ensuring we have a successful festival. Overall, there are a lot of work opportunities for a lot of people in Janjambure and its surroundings. So actually the number of visitors, or the traditional way of tourists staying on the island used to be just for an overnight, one night, and which was not making a lot of impact for the business owners until when we started the festival. the trend has changed from an overnight to 3-night stay. And having visitors to stay for 3 nights is actually making a lot of economic impact to the business owners. And from the past assessments we make, the numbers have increased from 800 to 1,500 visitors on the island. And this is specifically during the festival period. Also, we have over 13 lodge owners on the island, and it is indeed very hard for them to be at full capacity. It is only during the festival period that all the lodge owners, all the 13 lodges will be fully booked and occupied by visitors. And the least accommodations in these lodges are in between 5 to 7 rooms. And then the highest accommodation providers have over 40 to 45 rooms, which are fully booked. And when I say fully booked, it also includes food. Hardly you see some of our restaurants in our lodges or hotels actually operating fully, but during the festival, all the restaurants within these lodging facilities would actually cater for food. And also we have our corner shops. Corner shops are actually, small-scale entrepreneurs who will be selling commodities that are locally used by locals. That ranges from, let's say, soap, bread, you name it. And during the festival, some of the assessments we made have actually come out with results that over 35 shops actually exist on the island, and the sales has actually increased. We have in fact gone to a point, more especially those that were selling telephone credit ran out of credit. So meaning business was really growing. And one key thing that is very important is it seems without the annual Janjambure Kankuran Festival, we cannot really bring a lot of people together, more especially those that are in the diaspora. It is only the Kankuran heritage that actually pulls them away from the diaspora to come and join their families and grace the festival itself. And also it brings together a lot of visitors. And here, if I say visitors, I mean tourists, meaning it is because of the festival that the visitors numbers are actually increasing on the island. So meaning the Kankuran has become a key highlight, and it has become a heritage product that everyone embraces. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Omar. You see very much in the heritage sector, we usually focus on content, and we rarely focus on impact. So many of the heritage professionals may think, okay, so what is the point of these case studies? Because for many of us, the numbers, the particular income that is being made, and the impact, the social impact that heritage has on society is not something that we may consider as part of our job. And so we may even switch off when someone is presenting numbers.